Hello, hello. FNAF spoilers ahead. So, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, you know, that 8-year-long project that critics have deemed a 26%, while fans have given it 89%, is finally here. And let me tell you guys, it's so good! It's so good, okay? And you might think this is my 9th grade FNAF fangirl coming out, and it is. But it's also my professional writer coming out, so stay with me, okay? Listen, watching this movie, was so impressed because from intentional character development that drives the story forward in the best ways to masterful pacing that creates just enough suspense. It's my opinion that they did countless things right in this movie, which actually was somewhat surprising to me because as someone who has been playing the games since 9th grade, like seriously guys, I used to sit in geography class and be like, listen, you can hear Foxy on your left, you gotta close that door really fast or else he'll come kill ya. I didn't expect the movie to do the games justice. I don't know if it's just me, but I have been losing faith in movie adaptations recently. I mean, like, have you seen the bullshit Marvel's been pulling the past couple years? And that's why this movie blew me out of the water, because it was so much better than I expected. So let's get into why. Before we dive into this, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, tell me a joke in the comments, tell me your favorite FNAF character in the comments, tell me what you thought of Josh Hutcherson in this role, cause I didn't hate it. Okay, first of all, I want to touch on how this movie handled the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, when I wrote this script about a week ago, I was not the most fluent in FNAF lore, but I have since learned so much more because I watched this beautiful video right here. Everyone go like this video, everyone go subscribe, it's fucking incredible. So I do know more than the average FNAF fan, I would say. And if there's one word that I and the entire community, you guys, would use to describe the lore of FNAF, it's convoluted, okay? The first game was like, okay, cool, got it. Haunted animatronics, easy. The second game was like, oh shit, it's a sequel. It's easy enough to follow. The third game was like, wait, where are we? Then the fourth game was like, there are 2 bites now? 2? And then Sister Location just fucking blew it out of the water. And then Security Breach was Security Breach.
Are you currently sprinting at me as if you're gonna kill me? Because it doesn't seem to be working.
Meet me in person. Have fun and have a phaserific day. That was not me. That was a recording. I want to make sure you are not confused. And do not worry, they cannot find you while we are together.
Hi.
Bradley.
That's not what you said, because that's... Yeah, it's fine.
Great. How do I use it?
Just give it to a party bot.
The last parting gift, I guess. I'll try to get in there. Whoa! We're gonna go down to parts and services, and I'm gonna shove a beak inside of you, and you are going to be able to talk better. Did you hate the idea that much? Oh, what? What? Whoa, 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 bug, I found one. What the hell? That was too close. Please get out of the way. What? No. Oh, this, oh. Please. Oh my God, no! Not like this. Not like this. Please. Give me in. Freddy! Freddy, you bitch! Freddy!
And I've heard talks in Matt Pat's comments about a time traveling ball pit, but I'm not ready to comment on that yet emotionally. But the movie distills all of that lore into something digestible for new fans of the franchise and veteran fans alike. Now listen, the lore of the movie is not exactly the lore of the games, okay? The lore of the movie is a little closer to the books. But they also did work hand in hand with Scott Cawthon the entire time they were producing this movie. So a lot of it is very true to the games, and it's absolutely wonderful the way that it was done. Not only will people who haven't played the games or aren't extensively familiar with the universe be able to catch on pretty quickly to what's going on and understand the basic foundational story of the universe, but even fans like me who have learned a lot about what happens in each game might find something new here and there while they're watching the movie. They towed the line between spoon feeding and letting people figure things out on their own so well. And when it comes to stories as complicated and intricate as Five Nights at Freddy's, that is exactly the kind of world building that makes a story palatable. You might be wondering if the lore is really that crazy. It is! It is! That 9-hour video that I linked y'all to earlier is a basic, foundational, like, if you would like to understand everything that happens in the games, that is it. Literally, you need to watch the whole 9 hours There will be parts of each game that you do not understand if you have not watched the whole 9 hours of that video. Next, I want to talk about character development, as I always do. My family may or may not make fun of me for saying the words character development during movies all the time. For this part of the video, we're going to start with a thought that I had from the very first moment that I saw the trailer for this movie, which was, what the fuck is a child doing in this movie? Obviously, children are an integral part of the FNAF story. You can't understand any of the games without talking about the children at least once. But in the game, you're playing as a security guard, okay? And I'm not the biggest fan of children. My canon-obsessed brain was rioting. But one of the first things that I noticed as the movie started and progressed was how important this child, Abby, is to our main character, Mike. As Mike's little sister, Abby very quickly becomes, and has been for a long time, Mike's motivation for everything that he does. She is the reason that Mike takes the security job at Freddy's in the first place, and she remains a big deciding factor for him throughout the story. I was actually thrilled to find that I went from, what the fuck is a child doing in this movie, to feeling as protective over Abby as Mike did. That's good character development. Another big thing for Mike is his little brother Garrett, who got kidnapped when Mike was about 12. Throughout the movie, we learn that every night Mike revisits his memory of that day while he's sleeping in hopes that eventually he may be able to change the dream or gather more information about what happened to his brother. He wants answers. So he takes sleeping meds, plays nature sounds, and looks at a poster of nature to transport himself every night to that memory of camping in the woods and his brother getting kidnapped. This is one of Mike's biggest priorities. In fact, at first he turns down the job at Freddy's, telling his career counselor, "I can't do nights." However, Mike has a change of heart when his aunt files a lawsuit against him for custody over Abby. Not only does Mike need to provide for Abby, and he just got fired from his job as a security guard at the mall for beating up a father who he thought was stealing a little boy, who was actually his son, but having a job will also look better on paper for the judge, so he accepts the position at Freddy's. But here's the thing. When we're playing Five Nights at Freddy's, we understand that it's a survival game, right? We understand that the goal is to come back every single night. And if you watch that lore video I linked earlier, you'll learn more about why the person in the games comes back story-wise. But in the movie, our character also needs a reason to come back, because in the movie, we're not playing a game. We understand that no person ever in the history of the world would choose to go back unless they wanted to die a gruesome animatronic death. So that is why Mike's dream and his brother is such a genius character motivation. I literally was filled with glee when I watched this movie. They did this so well, because once he gets into Freddy's, his dreams change. He starts seeing other children in his dreams. He starts seeing the animatronic children in his dreams. And at one point, he tells Vanessa that he feels closer to Garrett when he is at Freddy's. So right there, we have a gorgeous motivation for returning to Freddy's night after night after night. And this is going to play in again when we talk about something else this movie did really well a little bit later. I know we've mostly talked about Mike, but I want to mention that the other characters in the movie had amazing motivations too, like literally every single one. They each had very defined wants and values that propelled them into action, including the spirits of the dead children. And at the end of the day, it all came together like a puzzle in a very satisfying way, and it was just deeply enjoyable from a character development standpoint. Bonus point for character development in this movie: things about each character are introduced slowly enough that you can start putting them together a little bit, but you can't fully understand it all until the end. So the movie gives you the opportunity to start detective work on your own without leaving you floundering through the entire film. And that shit is fun. The next thing that made the movie so good? Pacing. Now, this isn't attributed to the movie itself as much as it is to the game, but in this story, we know we have 5 nights to survive. This breaks the movie into a very unique structure of 5 very clear sections, with night 3 being the midpoint, during which things start to turn a little darker, a little more dangerous. Also, during the 3rd night, our midpoint, we start to see that the animatronics like Abby, which throws a little fun twist in there that we didn't expect. As a midpoint, this is a fantastic moment, because the midpoint is there to twist the story into something that viewers or readers didn't see coming. So not only is this structure so unique for a movie, but the movie also manages to keep it surprising even when we understand what's probably going to be happening next because of the game. This movie also does incredible with scenes and sequels. If you haven't seen my series on scenes and sequels, you can find that here. But the basic concept is that scenes carry more intensity and action, whereas sequels give... My dog's drinking water. Hydration is key, queen. King. Everyone's a queen in their own way. The basic concept of scenes versus sequels is that scenes carry more weight and intensity in action, whereas sequels give readers and viewers and characters time to rest, time to breathe, time to think about and plan their next move. And this movie has an amazing ratio of scenes to sequels that keeps the action and intensity high while still giving every character and viewer time to prepare for the next intense moment. Finally, we have the moment that absolutely blew my mind. The temptation, or as I called it in my Act 4 video, the taste of success. This moment comes right before the climax and takes the place of the dark moment, which typically follows a disaster and happens right before we switch to Act 4. When you choose to include a temptation or taste of success moment, you choose to bypass breaking your character down to their lowest in favor of offering your character what they want the most. In the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, the spirits of the dead children offer Mike something he seemingly can't pass up, which is to stay in this dream that he keeps revisiting night after night forever with his little brother Garrett. Instead of seeing Mike break down to a low point, we see him face something that he's been trying to get this entire time. And he even says, I love this moment, he says to one of the spirits, he says, "This isn't what I want, I just want to know what happened." And the child says, "No, you don't. You want to save him. You want to be with him. And here you go. You can have that." The only catch is that in order to have his little brother back, the spirits want Abby. And at first, in his wonder that his dream is different and he's looking at his little brother again, Mike says yes. He tells the spirit kids that they can have his sister. But literally 2 seconds later, Mike realizes that living in this blissful, eternal dream would not be the same as living in his real life with Abby, his sister who is still around, his sibling who still needs him. And so he takes back what he said. And that leads to the climax. I also love that this movie is very much a domino effect. This is just a little side note that I didn't have in my script, but in this movie we truly can see every single thing that Mike decides leading to another thing that Mike has to deal with or decide on. And so we really can trace the whole chain of events in the movie all the way back to Mike's first actions in the movie, which I just really love and appreciate. When you can do that with your story and you can make the entire story a sort of chain with links all made of something your character has decided to do. Anyways, this temptation moment is somewhat rare in storytelling. I think storytellers and audiences are much more naturally familiar with the concept of putting your character through the ringer until they're finally broken down enough to hear the theme, and then they rise up and they come back and they know the theme now. But the idea of offering your character what they want the very most and seeing whether or not they'll accept it is different. To me, it was different when I first learned about it, for sure. But in stories like this movie, the temptation moment makes so much more sense. Like, this movie would not hit as hard if we simply watched Mike break down and learn some kind of theme and then go back. The temptation moment in this story is truly what wraps it all up with a nice little bow and makes it hit home and makes it mean something. And it fits his character so much more than a, disaster dark moment would. Now listen, the movie wasn't perfect, okay? I understand this. There were some moments of campiness, not that camp is bad, but because the story of FNAF is so grotesque and violent and gory, I think it might have done better as like a rated R slasher. Like, it would have been so cool to see it actually play out that way. But maybe that's just my twisted dark fantasy brain talking, and maybe that's not what, audiences want. Maybe they don't want to see a bunch of children murdered, which, fine, whatever. But also, when you think of the younger-ish audience that FNAF has, like, I went with my sibling to the movie, who is currently 15. So, there are lots of kids out there still that enjoy this story. A lot of the audience is kids, and so if you think of it that way, it's like a little baby slasher. It makes a little more sense. Little PG-13 baby slasher with some scary jump scare moments thrown in. They did a great job in that context of adding a little bit of gore here and there and making it like, ugh, like, they had good moments of that. It was tense and suspenseful for older audiences and freaky and scary for younger audiences. And while I personally do feel it was rushed in some places, and I feel like some of the performances in the movie weren't stellar, I'm not gonna single anyone out because I feel bad, but you might know by me feeling bad who it is. Anyways, even though those things are true, I do also believe that this movie set out what it aimed to do. It told the extremely unsettling story of an indie horror game in a way we haven't seen before. And it told it with a rewatch factor of 1,000. Seriously, I've seen it twice already. I want to see it again in theaters. I'm gonna watch it every Halloween, and I'm gonna watch it every time I want to revisit the nostalgia and comfort of a community that I've been a part of since I was literally 13. Overall, I'm gonna give this movie 4 out of 5 stars because it wasn't perfect, but it's in my top 5 for sure. I loved it so much. It's so nostalgic and campy and fun for me, and I just loved every moment, and I'm so excited to see what they do with the other 2, because it looks like Mr. William Afton is, I don't know his actual name, but he is contracted for 2 more movies apparently, so I'm excited to see what they do next. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you thought about the FNAF movie, but be nice to people. If you don't, I'll boot ya. Just be respectful of those who feel differently than you, because art is subjective and no one is going to appreciate something in the same way that someone else does. So no 2 people are going to perceive this story the same way. Let's be nice to each other. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you for being here. Happy trails.